All right. Intro. Greetings, fellow fleshy beings, and welcome to This Week I'm Learning, the podcast where we fixate on things through the week, or sometimes the hours leading up to the show, and plate those tasty morsels to serve to all of you fine folks. This is episode 85, recorded March 30th, 2022, and I'm your host, Brandon Vader. Also joining me today, hey, I didn't say, also known as Captain Drac. That's why that was weird.
Gonna say, the
I
flow
need
is
more
off
caffeine.
now.
It's ruined. It's ruined.
It's ruined.
It's all ruined.
Ruined.
Down below me, we've got Tim Rind, also known as Fake Farang. Next to me, we have Seeker4761, also known as Colton Roper. And yeah, we are missing Cody. Probably going to miss him for the next couple weeks. He has gotten to start doing in-person Thai language learning. So he prioritized other real people rather than us
The virtual
fine
people.
folks, but it's okay. It's okay.
It's fine. It's
I'm
fine.
fine. It's okay. No, seriously, that's good for him. Is that a cow wearing glasses behind you?
Yes, it is.
Oh, God.
It totally is.
Why is it giving me librarian vibes?
Yeah. And let's
Like, it would be the librarian to ask you, can you move to another seat, please?
exactly right.
Well, now you have gone. It is only cow.
Oh, is he talking cow?
Oh well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
I always was.
It was an improvement.
Cody doesn't want to
Oh.
be friends. Cody doesn't want to be friends with this. Come on.
So you had to get the e-chad going on.
Yeah.
Well, since we're showing off background pictures, that was my ride to work Sunday morning.
Nice.
Fancy.
Cold. That was 27 degrees, but absolutely worth it. You
Fahrenheit.
can
I
actually
assume?
see snow in the background-ish here-ish. And my work is like 30 miles into the mountains,
Wow.
Up over them hills. Well, through them hills.
through them hills, into the snow. But
Is it? There's still
Sound
snow
rumors.
yeah.
at your job?
We're still open.
Oh, okay. I guess,
Yep,
I guess that makes sense.
Last public day is this Sunday, and then there will be a couple hours for employee ski ride Monday. That's kind of
Oh
our
shit! So it's coming
party.
up real quick for the end.
Yep. Oh yeah. It's the end of the world as we know it.
Time
I
to
feel
slow
fine.
down for 8 months.
Couple weeks. We actually get to go to 410s.
It's a good.
I'm
thing.
very
Yeah.
excited.
It's a good thing.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that
Yes.
was my shift.
3 days off. I'm super happy about that. Friday,
Hmm.
Saturday, Sunday.
A day, yeah, 3 days off. You could totally like go on a small trip and not feel bad about it. Have a whole day to just not think about work or anything. I love fucking 410s.
Yeah.
I prefer actually less than 410s, but 4 days. I prefer like 4/8s would be probably real nice. I could probably be really happy with 4/8s.
Yeah.
If they ever do that whole thing of paying us more for, but we're sorry.
We would do five 10-hour shifts or six. The rotation was, say, 2 shifts would be first one 5 10-hour days, then 4 days off. Another 5 10-hour days, 4 days off. Then 6 10-hour days, 4 days off. The rotation would be like that.
See, I wouldn't like that. I want consistency. I want to know, like 9 months down the road, I could plan something to go on that on my days off. I don't like
You can plan.
rotating. Yeah, but
No,
it's still a
you-
pain in the
you can
ass
plan.
to figure it out.
But you do know that you're working 2 weekends a month, pretty much. Yeah. But
Makes
anyways,
sense. Yeah. All right, let's actually, I guess, get on with it then. There we go. So Tim is going to tell us about taking one for the exploration team. Interesting.
and Colton is taking virtual farming to a whole new level. The results are, I have to say this,
Say it.
moving.
Moving.
Love it.
It's one sexy cow.
So you got to do the whole Mr. Roper, Mr. Vader, Mr. Rind. Anyways, and Brandon is gonna finish this off with I guess a spiel on plug it in, plug it in. Hopefully it smells good.
It will smell new, if nothing else.
Excellent.
Which, yeah,
Shit.
quite a wonderful smell. So, Tim, take us away.
Oh.
Probably should have
Okay,
told
so-
Tim we switched up the order a little bit. Sorry,
Yeah.
Tim.
Yeah. I
Surprise,
should've
you're
realized it when I read that. Okay.
We have
Just a moment.
a new editor
Bring
for
the
a
notes up.
month.
Okay.
The rules.
Okay. Hope it don't sound too much like I'm reading my notes, but this intrigued me. This I read about NASA astronaut Mark Van High and a Russian astronaut Peter Dubrov just returned to Earth, and they have both of the longest recorded single space flights, and of length of 355 days. So this brings into the effects of the human body, and some of these I knew, and some of these I didn't. So when the main engine cuts off, an astronaut will immediately begin feeling the effects of weightlessness, and it will feel as if you're laying down with your head much lower than your body, giving you pressure in your head. And this is because gravity is no longer pulling your blood and other fluids down into your lower extremities, and so it rises. The body fluids are redistributed from the lower body to the thorax and the head, but your head has a fixed capacity. It's not like the rest of your body, which can stretch a little bit, but your head is fixed capacity. Your brain is not very tolerant to this. As a result, your body will actually rid itself of about 2 liters of water once it is compensated for those extra fluids your body no longer requires, and that's a substantial amount of water. Your brain will also have to ignore its balance system via vision and inner ear feedback, but later when an astronaut returns, the inner ear systems go on sensory overload, which has been described as turning up the volume to 11 without the gradual level increase. So especially when they're doing re-entry, they say they hit into gravity again. It's like it's on and then it's off and then it's on all at once. So it can be a little overwhelming.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course we don't receiving the feedback of gravity, and there's a lot of micro adjustments we make all the time just by sitting or when moving, and all those muscles and joints aren't really working anymore, and your muscles will atrophy at an astonishing rate of up to 40% of their mass. That's an awful lot of muscle to lose.
Oh yeah.
Bones will lose their density at 1 to 2% a month, despite exercising daily. So even if they do their exercises there, you're still going to be losing bone density, and being very susceptible to breaking your bones after a long mission. 6 months in space is equivalent to what an elderly person would lose over a decade in bone mass, and you got to keep these guys that have been there now almost 2 years. I mean, maybe 10 days short of 2 years. 1 year. 1 year. What did I say? 2 years.
Yeah.
1 year.
Close enough.
Yeah, yeah. And they say a recovery takes generally 2 months for every month in space. And so this is going to be a huge problem on the trip to Mars, because astronauts are going to lose their bone mass over the trip, the quickest of which is estimated at 6 months, and lose 6 to 10% of their bone mass, which they will still need in the gravity of Mars, because they'll be going from a weightless situation to a situation where they do have gravity on Mars. So this could be an interesting calculation as to how physically capable they will be when they arrive in Mars. In addition, the bone mass being shed, it doesn't just it has to go through your kidneys. So the kidney stones can be very common for astronauts. Another one I didn't know about was called space anemia. More red blood cells are destroyed in space by our bodies, and it progresses through the entire space mission. They do not really know what the cause is. We theorize that we lose muscle mass because our body no longer has to maintain that muscle mass, because that muscle mass in space is not really required. We don't need that space, so the body probably equilibrizes, and that's probably one of the reasons, one of the many reasons that we lose muscle mass. But they have no idea why we lose 54% increase in the natural rate of blood cell destruction that occurs normally. So there's an anemia that occurs in space.
I wonder if it has to do with that 2 liters of fluid loss.
Yeah, that could be. It could be a relation there as well.
Just
they're
the
still all
added
new to this,
stress
so
of
this
that,
should be
or lack of stress
yeah.
without gravity could cause. What's that whole saying about a tree? Like a stronger tree is one that has to do with wind all the time, or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
Some sort of Viking saying. I remember.
I know
know.
you're getting that though. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Super inspiring, I'm sure.
You don't become tough without exposure to
Adversity.
to adversity.
Yeah, some sort of
Yeah.
inspiring bullshit like that.
And then there's also brain changes due to microgravity, and especially in the corpus callosum, which it's actually the part of the brain that connects the 2 hemispheres of your brain, and evidently that will change shape. And other parts of your brain also have changes in the neural connections. So that brings to a question to me: what are the plans for returning to the moon or traveling to Mars? But one of the conclusions of the different articles I read is that there is no conclusion yet on how long a mission can be, and that it may be simply up to the individual to an extent to decide how much after effects and recovery time they are prepared to take. I think, it's too bad, in the comic world, everything's so simple. If you're like Superman, you come from a higher gravity planet, and now you're on a lower gravity planet, you just become a superhuman. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way.
Fucking biology and physics.
Yeah. And there's other things that it does as well. I can pull up later on, but there's an awful lot of effects living in microgravity does to us, and hopefully most of them are recoverable from. But how do you have bring people to Mars? I mean, I guess then the next studies will be, once we finally do get to Mars, are these effects lessened because there is some gravity in Mars? But going to the moon, having a moon base, well, you're not going to be staying there very long, I imagine.
Well, that's part of another thing that is kind of interesting about that whole thing is that's affecting full-grown adults. How would it affect a child that's growing, or a child that is born in that type of situation?
Yeah.
Because evolution, unfortunately, has millions of years of gravity at 9.8 meters per second squared. So if all of a sudden you just change that, it'd be very interesting if you could even have children and have them survive for a long-term base on Mars or something.
And is there an age limit in which you cannot recover from these things after this?
If you do it before puberty, does that screw with you?
Is 51 years old. So eventually, you wonder how much can people recover. And for somebody who stays as long as him, or maybe even longer, will they have problems in later life that we don't know about? Yeah.
One study.
It's interesting.
Yeah, one study
science.
I kind of know about, I've kind of been following. I guess there's an increased risk of cancer for astronauts as well. Just because obviously
the radiation factor. Yeah.
So there's all these. Turns out space is quite difficult, but hopefully the smartest people in the world will figure some shit out. So maybe we could have like the Star Trek universe instead of the Expanse universe when we get there.
One interesting aside:
nice.
when I read the first article, it says that NASA astronaut sets longest space mission for a NASA astronaut. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. But I thought, they were very accurate in how they worded it. But they didn't. This article didn't even mention that the Russian astronaut who gone up with him at the same time stayed the same length of time. So you got to be careful how you read things, yeah, because they're both up at the same time. Yeah, at least there's peace on the space station.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
isn't that was an issue? Isn't that why they took so long? Was because of the war? Because isn't it the Russian space agency that's bringing people up right now?
No. Well, both of them are both SpaceX and Russia
Oh,
are
I
bringing
guess that's
people
true.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and bringing people down. But no, that wasn't the reason, because that was 6 months previous, and the war hasn't been going on that long.
Well, I remember reading something that they're astronauts up there right now. So in the event of an emergency or something, they might be kind of SOL.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not
Sure,
with
we'll find
SpaceX.
Yeah.
Well, I think even NASA keeps one space shuttle just ready in the event of this kind of thing. I
don't
remember
think
reading
they do
that.
anymore.
I swear they
Yeah.
do. Just one. It's not really publicized, but maybe I'm
I don't
bullshitting.
think they had the launching facilities anymore for that. Huh. I think SpaceX has got more than enough for it.
Oh yeah. This
Because
is why we need
they,
Space
they
Force.
could
though.
repurpose a Falcon 9 from setting up their satellites, their Starlink satellites, to easily put on the crew cabinet on it. Because I think they have three or four Dragon crew cabins, and they're not making any more, by the way, because they're dedicating their future to their newer Starship, and because they were using those craft, they figure they don't have to make any more anyways. They're just going to make parts for them. That's
Yeah.
another little aside. Okay,
At least
let me
for
just
now.
go back to my notes. Sorry, just one moment. Giving my notes, and I'll get on to our script here. Okay. So I guess are you ready, Colton?
Does it look like I'm ready? Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Well,
Yes.
yeah. That's a dog. Almost looks like a dog. That cow.
Nope. It's a.
Very dog-like.
I used to know actually the different breeds of cattle, like U4H, but obviously I haven't retained that information in my daily life here living in the city. But that's a famous
So-
breed of cow, is all I know.
Okay.
Apparently very smart.
Okay. Not a Jersey or something like that. Is taking virtual farming to a whole new level. The results are moving.
Moving.
Oh, I saw moving. I sounded like a ghost when I did it. Yeah, okay. Moving.
So, I'm sure you guys remember a few episodes back, might have been a couple months at this point, we had an interesting discussion about the metaverse. And if I remember right, we were a bit iffy on the whole thing. The technology is interesting and unfortunately might very well be the way of the future. Now, one of the big things that old Zucky Zuck mentioned in his initial presentation on the metaverse was how it would change how we interact with work. Whether it is a godforsaken virtual meeting that should have been an email or a digital hellhole of a cubicle, this is the future that Facebook foresees. And it turns out other industries are taking notice. Farming in the future will definitely have to make use of technology as our population grows and our fertile land becomes less and less fertile due to gestures to everything. Yeah, I mean, I've even mentioned this before in a presentation I've done about AI in farming. But this kind of might take it to a little bit of a different level because all of this is true about the world burning up is true while the market is starting to demand more sustainable and ethical farming practices. Free-range chickens, grass-fed beef. A lot of consumers are sort of becoming aware of where their food comes from and would like to think that the pig that gave them their bacon lived a good life. So, I found a story of a dairy farm in Russia where...
I know this story.
I figured you did. I found a story of a dairy farm in Russia where the farmer was experimental with their cattle.
That sounds
It is,
dirty.
it is a known fact in the dairy industry that dairy cows will produce more milk when they are less stressed. And this is actually true of all farm animals or any sort of meat product. If the animal itself is less stressed, they generally produce higher quality milk, higher quality meat. Kind of been known forever. So this farmer in Russia would actually do whatever they could to reduce the stress of their animals. One of the interesting ones that he did was actually he played classical music in the barn, which was probably the most interesting thing I read. until I kept going a little bit farther down the article, and it turns out that the farmer must have listened to Zuckerberg gush about the metaverse, because he and a team of IT researchers are actually putting VR headsets on some of his dairy cows. The pictures, I'll put some pictures up here, and it's fucking hilarious.
How do we know if they're even seeing it right, though?
Oh, so they put
It could be,
two
could be
headsets.
dazzling your eyes.
They have to put two headsets because of the shape of the cow head. Two headsets, like, strapped across the cow. And it looked...
Pretty fucking futuristic, honestly.
The
Why
cow
not?
was standing there and looked okay, I guess. But you can't really tell much from a picture.
So the VR headset played programs that simulated the cows, like, being in, like, big open fields with grass as far as the eye can see, and nothing stressful, like an enclosed barn with hundreds of other cattle in feces and stuff like that. So basically they were trying to trick the cows. So the idea is that, again, animals produce more when they are less stressed, and a preliminary study showed that the cows that use the VR produce an average of 5 to 7 more liters of milk per day. And isn't that just the most horrifying fucking thing in the world?
We're living in the cow matrix.
The cow level is true. There
Is a cow.
There is a cow level. That's what it is. That's what it fucking is.
I don't know what to say.
Oh.
It's, like I said, at first it was like, that's kind of interesting, you know, and then you start thinking about it, and then you think about that Zuckerberg presentation and the fact that we've basically lived in our offices for the past 2 years. And you're like, so who's to say that some evil corporation wouldn't just be like, hey, you're just going to be in the VR all the time. You're going to play happy music. We're going to trick you into thinking you're in a better place, all the while the world is doing what the world does. So it turns out these cows might be quality assurance testers, honestly, for the future of humanity. The darkest timeline truly is.
Oh, yeah.
See, and I found other fun VR stories. There was like a story of a rat that played Doom, the original Doom, and they trained a rat to play Doom. Granted, it was like just a simple corridor, but they trained it to like shoot an enemy and walk down for treats. And you're like, that's a fun VR story. That's not dystopian in any way. That's just
I
No,
know, but
not
that
at all,
rat
except-
is probably in horror.
well, yeah, I guess in the long term, we're
Does it know
training
the
rats to
difference in
fight.
reality? Does it know the difference
Yeah.
between reality and imagination? You know.
Drop it into an
God.
exosuit and give it the framework of it's playing Doom.
Why not? So now I want to see cows playing Doom while they're being milked and shit. You know what? Let's just go all out at this point.
There's just an Omni treadmill underneath it, and it's just like walking all over the place, and it bends its head down. A little computer puts a little tuft of grass underneath it. Oh yes, this grass is
Right?
quite tasty.
It's amazing. It's
But what if it tries to get? I mean, you would think a cow as a herd animal, so it needs to see its herd to
you
feel
could program the
comfortable.
hood.
So,
Yeah.
The herd.
now,
It hears
so now,
it.
But now it tries to get close to the herd or touch the herd, and it never does.
Well,
be
but
weird.
here's the thing: that these cows were not left by themselves. They were still in the general population. So they still were able to sense. I'm sure they heard, they could feel, they could touch. It was just purely a visual trick to be like, "Hey, you're free, meat
They
animal."
put the cow on a treadmill or something.
Maybe. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if they did. Again, these are preliminary results. But the farmer and the IT researchers did say that they're going to be purchasing more fucking VR headsets for their cows. So if there's a VR shortage or a VR headset shortage, we know where they're going.
Just wait till they put them on chickens.
That'd be adorable, actually. I'm not gonna lie. That'd
You
be
already
cute.
had
See a
that
bunch
little,
of
that little,
these
that
tiny
little
little
helmet I told you about. Remember?
Yeah. So
Uh-huh.
just strap a tiny little headset. Just let it. It's like eye things would be on the side instead of. Oh my god, I love it. Why not? As I said, 30
Okay.
years. That's humanity for you. But
That's an
hopefully,
interesting one.
yeah. So that's what I fucking learned about this week. After I stopped crying at the horrificness of it, and maybe Brandon has
that's
a
good.
more positive topic. I hope.
More positive than Darkest Timeline? Yeah, I think I can
Okay,
do
good.
that.
All right, good, good.
Okay, well, the hole I've fallen down is the one device to rule them all hole. I'm anxiously waiting for my work bonus to come in so that I can immediately buy a shiny Framework laptop, specifically the i7 version. Because the i7 version of the laptop will be roughly half the multi-core performance of my desktop, but actually exceed the single-core performance of my desktop. Most games are currently only coded to take 2 to 4 processor threads, meaning that from a gaming standpoint, I'm not really taking that much of a hit until we talk about the GPU department. The Framework laptop only has Intel Xe graphics, which, while leaps and bounds better than the earlier integrated graphics, it's still going to fall flat on more demanding titles. So, enter the eGPU and Thunderbolt.
Thunderbolt.
Yeah. So, first, a quick history lesson. Thunderbolt was originally co-developed between Apple and Intel, but the full rights were eventually transferred to Intel. Originally, this was actually going to be a optical fiber standard, but when Intel tested it with copper, the results were better than expected, and with the ability to carry both data and power, they ended up sticking with copper. The version 1 and 2 physical ports were the same as mini display ports. Version 3 and 4 both use the USB-C physical standard. So what is Thunderbolt? Thunderbolt carries PCIe, which is normally an on-motherboard data connection used for high-bandwidth devices like graphics card, early NVMe drives, and capture cards, and DisplayPort over a single serial signal cable, along with power. It also allows for 6 devices to be daisy-chained together. Originally, it allowed for much higher speeds than USB, although current speeds between USB 4 and Thunderbolt are comparable. The main difference in USB 4 and Thunderbolt 4 are the minimum requirements for the certification, with Thunderbolt 4 being the most capable and stringent. 11th generation Intel processors, codenamed Tiger Lake, are the first processors to integrate Thunderbolt 4. So this all ties in nicely to the fact that the framework uses an 11th generation Intel chip specifically for the Thunderbolt 4 specification. While it's not officially certified yet, other users have already reported success in connecting the Framework laptop to Thunderbolt accessories, including the eGPU docks that I've been drooling over. So what is an eGPU dock, you ask? It's an external graphics card dock, essentially a small box that houses a graphics card and power supply that connects over Thunderbolt to a compatible computer. Interesting note, although it's most commonly used on laptops, you actually could use it for small form factor desktop too.
Does it have to be used with Thunderbolt 4, or it can
I
be
was
used
about
with
to
Thunderbolt
say,
3
like,
as well?
So-
is it because it's the Thunderbolt standard is connected to the PCIe bus, right? That's why you could do that.
Yes.
But
Yep.
a regular USB-C, even though the speed-wise it could probably do it, there's no, at least how the general architecture works, it wouldn't work at all with that, right?
Like
Correct.
my laptop says
And-
Thunderbolt 3 / DisplayPort.
Yep.
So
So,
that's not it.
Thunderbolt 3 will work with eGPU docks.
I see.
The Thunderbolt 3 standard tops out at 32 gigabits per second. The Thunderbolt 4 standard tops out at 40 gigabits per second. It also has some security features and some other power saving features. But yeah, the dock I'm actually looking at is technically certified for Thunderbolt 3, but is compatible with Thunderbolt 4.
Okay.
Is it an Asus or a Razer dock?
Neither. Cooler Master.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a good one too. All right, makes sense.
Yep.
Acceptable.
Yeah. So, yeah, important note, while you can use an eGPU to boost the graphics power of your laptop without connecting an additional display, you essentially half your potential frame rate increase because you're having to send data out to the eGPU and then back to the laptop. You actually get your most power from connecting external displays directly to the graphics card in the eGPU. Additionally, if the eGPU dock includes breakouts for USB, Ethernet, or daisy chain for other Thunderbolt ports, you're also reducing your potential gain. They're cleaner setups by far because it only requires one cable, but they're rare for a reason. In my week of searching, I've only come across 3 docks that include other ports besides just the input from the laptop and then the GPU. And the dock I'm ordering is actually going to end up connecting via 2 cables to my laptop. One Thunderbolt 4 connection purely for the graphics card, and then a USB 3 connection for the USB ports and Ethernet.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Can I ask what kind of price are you looking at for something like that? Do you pick which kind of video standard? What card do you like?
How much does the dock itself cost?
Yeah,
So
$450 without a graphics card. You have to then add your graphics card into it. So, yeah,
a
Colton.
lot for that. It's a lot.
Yep. This is the reason I have been doing so much research on it. And while this dock isn't going to be ideal from an ease of use standpoint, it is going to allow for the maximum performance. Which, speaking of performance, plan on only getting about 70 to 80% of the power that the GPU can actually generate into a usable frame rate. This is because the Thunderbolt 4 port connects to 4 PCIe 3.0 lanes. Current generation graphics cards slot into a PCIe 3.0 X16 slot, so 16 PCI lanes. Although even current top-of-the-line cards like a 3080 Ti can only actually fully saturate 8 lanes of data. And the math proficient of you, Colton, are probably jumping ahead and going, but 4 is half of 8. Shouldn't we be seeing 50% of the GPU power? I'm surprised you didn't bite earlier, by the way. That is the reference. You're fine. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Failure.
It's fine. No. It's okay.
Failure.
I still got to call you out, so it's all good. So I can't actually explain that part of it as much. Part of it has to do with the kind of work the GPU is doing with the data you're sending to it. And since you're kind of forwarding that on to an external monitor, and part of it is just, honestly, from what I could understand, and I'm coming from a software design background, it's fucking magic. Pure fucking magic. But all of the sources that I've found that do like side-by-side results, like here's what we get with this card in a eGPU dock versus this card in an exact setup desktop running native on the motherboard.
So my question is,
yeah,
I see where you're going, but my question is, why do you feel this is a better choice than buying a gaming laptop with a more up-to-date video card?
Yeah. So I will get there in a moment because I do actually have a little thing about that.
Because you're talking about buying a new i7 laptop too, right?
Yes. So
yeah, okay.
The laptop is the framework, which, because I'm doing the DIY edition, it's going to end up, even with the i7, because I'm bringing the RAM and NVMe forward from my current laptop, because I maxed my current laptop out on memory and storage. I'm actually going to only end up paying about $1,100 for the laptop, and then $450 for the dock. I mean, that does put it in the price range of a gaming laptop. But the reason I don't really want to go with a dedicated gaming laptop is they're not really upgradable.
Yeah, I was about
That's
to
the
say
big thing.
what you've done is made a laptop almost the full system upgradable, which has always been an issue with laptops, especially with the Apple tax and everything. Like with the framework, I never thought about that. Pairing that with whatever eGPU, you could just throw in an upgraded graphics card if for some reason there's a huge jump and it's worth it.
Yep.
Okay.
Or make even a shitty, like a relatively shitty computer into a decent gaming machine, as long as it has the Thunderbolt standard.
Exactly.
Is it difficult finding compatibility? I'll just give you an example. Like, my laptop is a Dell, and it's 3 or 4 years old. And I looked around looking at docks, not quite the same thing, mind you, but at docks. And I guess there's a whole wide range of compatibility. I mean, you can't just pick a dock and have it work with your laptop. Do you have that same sort of problem searching for something that will work with the one you're buying?
Yeah, is it just plug and play, or is it software based?
It's plug and play. It's so the problem with docks is the term dock has been used for so long. There are actually I wish I had one of the older laptops here with me. There's actually some old docking stations that are literally like you drop your laptop onto it and there's a proprietary port on the bottom.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about those ones,
ones. With yours, honestly, if it's a Thunderbolt 3 dock, it should work with your laptop. No problem. Where the problem would come in with that specifically is because you are running off onboard graphics for that docking station. You may not have the bandwidth to put out more than 2 screens on a dock. Like my work laptop, the docking station is supposed to technically support 3 monitors. But even if I use all the right adapters to get my dock plugged in to my 3 monitors, I have one that it'll like pop up and then pop down, pop up, pop down. But if I use the dock and then plug in an HDMI cable into the side of the laptop, that works fine.
I guess I never thought about that. So if you have a laptop that has a dedicated graphics card and you put it into a dock with Thunderbolt, you can't utilize that graphics card?
So Windows has gotten a lot better about letting you choose what graphics card you use. But I've
got 2 graphic cards.
Yeah. Oh,
Microsoft,
do you?
Yeah, you got the
Microsoft
10...
Microsoft UHD and the 1060 GeForce.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
There's 2 graphic cards in this laptop, so I don't know what that means for me.
Could probably
it's a 4K monitor on the laptop.
It would be more of a pain in the rear to get a eGPU dock working with it, because you would then technically have 3 graphics cards in your system. And what you would end up kind of needing to do to make sure that you're actually getting the performance right is you would actually basically have to like dock in, go into your device manager, disable the drivers on your internal cards so that it's only outputting on your external. But then if you
just have to do it with the dedicated one. You'd only have to do it with the dedicated one, because internally I would hope onboard graphics could understand, because that's the default. But you're right.
That is very manufacturer specific of the laptop. Like Dell prioritizes battery life over performance. So like my personal laptop has a AMD Radeon chipset in it that is a dedicated card. It's terrible because it's like barely dedicated. And it a lot of times, because it's a Dell laptop, will just be like, oh yeah, I see you're trying to run this game, but I'm going to try and run it on the internal because you're not on AC power, you're not on max power setting, You haven't forced it with this application through the AMD drivers. It's a bit of a cluster. It's gotten better.
Even for their gaming ones? Same problem with their gaming laptops?
I don't know. I don't really get to play with XPSs or Alienwares.
We'll have to get Cody to try because he has a Thunderbolt capable. Doesn't? Or no, he doesn't. No, he has an AMD laptop. He doesn't.
is AMD, so it doesn't have.
Damn it! That would be very interesting to plug in a high-powered laptop into an eGPU and see what type of.
I know they've done it because there was a article that I was reading that they had a laptop with the 2070 Max Q in it, and they did an eGPU with a 2070 just desktop card. And they said that honestly, because you're losing that 20% due to the external GPU, it really didn't make sense in that scenario where you already have a decent graphics card in your laptop to try and up it to a desktop level. Now going from like a 1060 to like a 2070 desktop card, that could make sense. But again, you're still losing a certain percentage.
And at some point, your bottleneck will start becoming your CPU at that point. Once you get into like 30 series and graphics cards, and the next one that's coming out this year, now you're looking at CPU bottlenecks.
Yep. And kind of part of that is, I had another note in here, but now I lost it. Oh, higher resolution. So the higher resolution you push your games to, the less performance difference between like a natively slotted in card versus the eGPU. And that's because it's actually hitting your CPU less. Lower resolutions, there's more CPU impact than the higher resolutions.
Really?
Really?
I did not know. I thought that would have been obviously completely opposite.
Nope.
Is that true for all systems? Really?
Yep.
I thought it was all graphics cards where if you like output 4K and then downgrade it to 1060 or whatever, or is that a different thing?
You absolutely lose frames. Don't.
Oh.
So it's not like, hey, I'm only getting 20 frames and at 1080p, I'm going to go to 4K and get 100 frames. It's not that. It's just your performance differential on that loss is less because you're less CPU bound at higher resolutions.
Okay.
Higher resolutions are more GPU bound.
Huh. Interesting, actually.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah. So I know I'm taking a performance hit all around. So why is it that I want to do that? Mostly it comes down to how I use my computers. I prefer laptop to desktop purely for portability's sake and continuation of experience. So, for instance, at work I was given, when I started, both a desktop and a laptop. And aside from that first week, I've been laptop only for the duration of my employment, which is over 3 years now. This is because I can be researching something, pulling up tools that I'll need on site for a repair, and then pull my laptop off the dock, close the lid, run out the door. When I get to where I'm going, open up the lid, put in my password, and all of the informations and tools is right there. And I have tried doing this in my personal life in the past. Most recently with the Surface Go 2, but it always ends in failure, and it's due to the lack of gaming ability. And like Tim said before, I could go the route of Cody and get a dedicated gaming laptop, but I would actually end up spending more money to get a full-on gaming laptop.
You definitely lose the portability with power, battery management, and heaviness in general.
Oh, yeah. Well, and then specific to the framework, I also lose any future upgradability. With the framework, they've already said that they are going to be working on introducing same form factor main boards that are going to have different processors in them. So, they might skip 12th gen because we're already part of the way through that cycle, and 13th gen Intel chips are going to be coming out probably in the next year. So it would make sense for them to kind of be working more on a, like every other cycle, like every other year do the processor. But I would be able to yank out the motherboard, take this, go put it in my server rack as a standalone little kind of compute unit, which is freaking cool.
Powerful as shit still.
Oh, yeah.
Totally useful, yeah.
Yep. And then move up to the next generation processor and next generation RAM. And if, NVMe gets like a NVMe 2.0 or something like that, that could be a future upgrade, and I get to keep the same chassis and keyboard and monitor. Or if, they decide, hey, 4K is getting more doable on something that's a 13.5 inch display. Here's a 4K panel option. Oh, you guys want touchscreen? Great. Here's a touchscreen option. Like, that's one of the cool things about Framework is they are talking future upgrade paths for this chassis. So
shout out to our Right to Repair episode.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, like that is kind of a big part of this, is that I'm not locking myself into something that I'm then going to have to pay another, like with a gaming laptop. If I were to go out and buy a $2,000 gaming laptop today, 3 to 5 years from now, I will be buying a full other $2,000 laptop to replace it with. And there's not going to be, little upgrade bumps along the way that I can hit for less. So that's what's really gotten me thinking about this. Like, ooh, this could be my like one device that when I'm home, it lives on my desk. When I get ready to go out, unplug it, chuck it in my bag, and it's
living
going
the
to
one
be a thin
cable
and
life.
light. Yeah, well, 2 cable.
Well, yeah,
But yeah. But that's just my theory at this point, is that this could work and that this is going to be a good way to do it.
And
And
you decide on what video card you want.
so for testing, I'm just going to take my 2070 Super out of my desktop and drop that into the eGPU and just do that. But my son is very much rooting for this one device to work, because I promised that if I was able to make this laptop and docking station do everything I want,
He gets the desktop.
well, he will be able to buy my desktop at a very, very, very steep discount. But like I'm going to get some chores and summer jobs out of him for him to get this.
Yeah, teaching moment.
Exactly.
Good.
So yeah, he's, and I keep telling him, like, if this doesn't work, then this deal's off. Like,
still my desktop, damn it, until it isn't.
yeah, exactly. And it's like, depending on card prices, I might upgrade and get a 3070 Super, which is kind of like that point just before diminishing returns on these eGPU docks. Like, you can technically shove a 3090 Ti into it,
Get one that's big enough.
but you're losing so much of that performance that it's almost at that 3070 level anyway. So,
Cool.
but I
Looking
told
forward
him
to
it's like,
following you on this.
yeah. So
I see a lot of Tech Pirate content in the future.
Yes. I am hoping to be able to order the laptop by the end of April. And I'll be getting the eGPU dock at the same time, and be doing the whole setup thing, and I'll have it here on the podcast because that's what I'll start doing the podcasts and everything on That'll be another big test because, like, my current laptop, even though it should be able to do the podcast, the 2 times I have tried, it has just
Yeah, it was pretty iffy at best.
horrible. Yeah.
It's gonna be thermals are gonna be your biggest fight in all of this. With all the computer power you're putting through a laptop chassis, even though the framework laptop chassis is very open and you could probably do some modifications to make it even more airy if you really wanted to.
I am thinking I will probably just get one of the fan stand, laptop stand things for it.
Oh yeah, that'd work.
So,
So what is
Anyway.
this the laptop you're actually going to go for?
so it's Framework, and it's frame.work is the website.
Oh, okay.
And it's
never heard of it.
Yeah, it's
look at
13.5-inch diagonal screen, so basically like a 14-inch case size. Super DIY, repairable, fixable. They actually include the one tool that you need to fix anything and everything and fully disassemble the laptop in the box.
Wow.
Instructions and video manuals for how to change everything. They released, so it's got these pop out modules on the side, so that you choose what you want your IO to look like.
That's good because I had a nightmare changing the keyboard on my wife's Asus laptop.
Oh, this one you could do
I
in your
got it
sleep.
done, but what a friggin' nightmare.
Yeah, this
I
one
think I
you,
ended up with an extra screw. But it's working.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been tearing laptops apart for 17 years now, 18 years.
That's
But you
before
can
the
find
law.
different brands come apart differently. That's for darn sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then, I mean, like your modern thin and lights, like from Apple and Microsoft, they're all glued together.
Glue.
There is no way to open them up to
Without
upgrade
destroying
an
it.
SSD. Yeah.
Hence
Like
the right to repair
the-
movement.
Exactly. The Microsoft Surface laptop, like that first gen, if you had to get into it, I think first and second gen, I think they've made some improvements moving on, but like you would actually have to rip off the Alcantara from the mid frame to get to the screws to then do anything inside, which ruins the Alcantara.
And
And then
considering,
you're left with this sticky.
like I say, considering
mess.
it's a Surface, which kind of prides itself on being fancy and clean, and the Microsoft Apple equivalent, that's kind of defeats the whole purpose of of its existence, in my opinion, with the
Yeah.
Surface lineup.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So that's my plan. That's the rabbit hole that I have been just.
When do you think you're going to start doing that?
I'll be able to order the stuff the end of April, and then
Oh, nice.
Hell yeah.
as soon as I get it in, I'm gonna be shooting unboxing videos and setup videos,
Nice.
and that's the plan.
Good.
Hopefully you all fine folks can visit the YouTubes and
Yeah, I find it very interesting.
support Tech Pirate. Yay. Yeah, no, it's incredibly interesting, and like, so the dock I'm getting also has a hard drive spot in the front of it that is like just
Hot
pull the
swappable?
front off magnetic, not hot swappable. Well,
You probably could.
I would say unplug your USB first, and then you could hot swap it because it's all through the USB controller rather
true.
than the Thunderbolt controller. But like I was thinking about that, and it's like, oh my god, I could dump a 2 terabyte solid state in the front of that, and then that's where, like, if it's not a game that I can just run natively on the laptop itself, it gets installed on the SSD.
So you
on
put
the
all
external.
your smaller games, your older games, your games that you only play once in a blue moon. I'm excited. It's gonna be cool. Hope it works.
Oh yeah, I hope so too.
For that price,
I
it better
wanna
fucking work.
Well, I mean, if you know what, if nothing else, like I can turn around and sell the eGPU dock for
Oh yeah.
75% of what I bought it for on eBay. Get that out of my life. It's not like I'm buying a second card for it right now. And the laptop itself, like
It's
I
still gonna be
use my
useful.
current generation laptop a ton. And there are starting to be times I've been doing a lot with SQL datasets and running reports and compiling different things
your
on my
CPU,
system.
baby, your CPU.
And yeah, that dual core 8th gen processor, that dual core 8th gen i5 that's in my current laptop is just showing its age. It's showing its age. It is no longer the graceful elder beauty. It is now just the old sad lady sitting at the end of the bar.
So guys, are we wrapping it up, or can I go AFK for a moment?
Oh, we can absolutely wrap it up. Sorry, I got
Okay.
on a
No
major
problem.
rant there. Yeah. So, Colton, where can we find you?
Name's Colton Roper. You can find me on all the socials as Seeker4761, YouTube channel as well, Seeker4761, Facebook Gaming, Seeker4761 Gaming. Oh, just type that in, you'll probably find something. Also, pretty consistent streamer on twitch.tv/Seeker4761, where I've been streaming a lot of Satisfactory lately, so kind of an interesting little game. And also a contributor to thetechpirate.net. Tim?
Awesome.
Our Thai Journey, no spaces, on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Back to you.
Awesome. Well, I am Brandon Vader, also known as Captain Dracanis. You can find me on thetechpirate.net, where I run that site-ish. Honestly, Colton has been holding that site up entirely on his own. But there will be content coming soonish.
Content?
Also, YouTube is the Tech Pirate, where content soon. And hopefully, maybe streaming once I get the setup to see how that does that. I don't know. We'll see how crazy I get. But yeah, thank you for joining us on this episode of This Week I'm Learning. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts, as well as on YouTube at This Week I'm Learning. For your social media peeps out there, you can find us on Twitter at ThisTwill. If you'd like to contact us, you can of course send an email to twill@thetechpirate.net. We will see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Bye. Fun.
So excited.
We actually hit an hour. Only 3 of us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
It's always something.
good stuff.
I actually got
There's always
through
something to
every
talk
single
about.
point. I
Yeah.
got through every single point in my script. I think that's the first time in like months. Because usually it's like there's little stuff that I have written in there that it's like, ooh, I could get to this, and then I'm looking at the time and it's like we're already over an hour. Okay, that's
Going on
not
2,
important.
baby.
That's not important. That's not important.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Well, I felt a little bit better. I think I was a little bit more prepared today. I didn't have as many questions, not as much audience participation, but yeah, I felt.
No one ever
felt,
participates in
being
mine.
prepared.
Mine's a tight 12, baby. I have my scripts are 12 minutes. Like I have. It is amazing how consistent I've been done with that. No one cares. It's all right. It's good fun.
Oh, I had comments.
No, we had
both
yeah,
of
we
you.
had
Oh, this time, yeah.
Yeah,
But there were 4 of us.
Yeah.
Like we don't have time. We gotta go.
Move it. Move it. Move it.
Well done. Fucking end on that shit.